Welcome to the Hangin Banners podcast with your hosts, Tyler Witt.
How about this block here by Tyler Witt? You're going to see him get out in front, and he's going to get a key block that springs this play.
Jack Coachman.
And here he is, having the time of his life.
And Ryan Sartori.
Maybe short, but he's thick.
That's thick with two C's at the end.
What is going on, everybody? Hangin Banners, episode 15. Episode 15. We're rolling. We're locked. We're almost ready for a new year, and all the boys are together again. Ryan Sartori with Jack Coachman, also Tyler Witt. And let me address this right up front. There's some work being done on the old mobile home that that I'm living in. So if you hear some power tools whirring and buzzing and like that, I think he's actually playing along with me. That's fucking awesome. That is just work being done on the house. And if you like it, great. Maybe this can be like an ASMR episode. If not, no, I hope you stick around. Jack, Tyler, good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
It's great to see you boys. Hope you guys had a very Merry Christmas.
It was a Christmas.
How many times have we all been in the same state for a podcast? Is this the first, the second?
This is a good question.
2 weeks ago, everyone was back, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was too much of a stumper, caused a bunch of dead air. But I'm looking through my stuff here. I think 2 weeks ago we were all here. That must have been the first time.
This is an audio experience. I'm hearing dogs in the background. I've got the power tools going.
Jack's dog-friendly
math. Welcome to the Hangin Banners audio experience here in episode 15. We're going to bring it all to you. A little bit later, you might hear a little chirp from Jack's smoke detector. Who knows what might happen?
Is that a threat?
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Exactly what that is. I'm hoping that at some time in the middle of this podcast, I don't have to go handle business with the contractors that are working on the home. But if I do,
we got
Tyler, you're in charge.
Oh, a little preview of that.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. Enough with these pleasantries. Jack, did you figure it out how many times?
Oh yeah, I said I think this is the second time. I think 2 weeks ago was the first, and then all of the time before that, Tyler, you were in Canada, right?
Yep.
And then last week I was in Florida. So there was actually one more. I was thinking this was the first time, but it's not actually that.
This is a well-traveled podcast. Listen to in all corners of the world with all 33 of our listeners. Actually, one of them I think is from Thailand. So,
oh, nice.
Hey,
I don't know how to say hello in Thailand, but I'll look it up.
That's the one from Tyler. That's the lady you were hanging out with, right? You're giving her a little money on the side. That Thailand woman, is it Taiwanese?
I don't know what you're talking about.
90 Day Fiance type stuff. Anyway,
is this Swati? Sawadi's hello in Thai.
Sawadi. All right, let's jump into this episode, goddamn. Jesus. Don't make me pull them up because I will. Right off the bat, let's get into Count Your Wins, a best of the week concept of a segment. This is where we bring up something either from our personal life, pop culture, or sports that we think is an absolute win for the week. And Tyler, you go first.
I was really hoping you would go first so I could one-up you, but
okay, no,
it's fine.
That was exactly my plan. I'll throw myself under the bus if you want, but that was my plan to begin with.
No, it's okay. I'll go first. So I'm a huge Zach Bryan country music fan.
And who isn't right now? I mean, he is red hot.
He is red hot, to say the least. Just a lot of good stuff happened recently relating to Zach Bryan. So 6 months ago, I ordered a vinyl album, and he said it was going to take a really long time. It just came in, so super thrilled about that. For Christmas, my sister gave me a Zach Bryan hat, and I don't have any Zach Bryan merch, so that was a big win for me. And then Christmas Eve, he came out and said, yeah, I put out this live album from the Red Rocks. And let me tell you, if you guys like country music, give this a listen, because it is the most electric live performance album that I've heard. My other favorite would probably be Nirvana's live one on MTV Unplugged, but this one gives it a run for its money. it gave me chills, and I was just so thrilled, like listening to it. I was really locked in, just had my little earbuds in and just listening through the whole track list. The whole set was top to bottom, just so great. He's such a thankful artist. You could hear the fans' enjoyment throughout the whole album, and it brought a lot of warmth to my heart, and it made me really happy. So,
you're forgetting the best part of the entire live album that he released. The name of it is All My Homies Hate Ticketmaster.
All the homies,
which is such a dope name for an album, because obviously it takes such a harsh stance against one of the biggest monopolies in America in Ticketmaster. I even working in radio for 2 months, I can tell you already horror stories about Ticketmaster, though I won't right now. It's crazy what they're able to get away with. So yeah, I'm one of Zach Bryan's homies, and all my homies hate Ticketmaster.
Yeah. And another thing to go along with that is that the reason it's called All My Homies Hate Ticketmaster is he also made the announcement that he's not going to be releasing tickets through Ticketmaster unless it's for like a big music festival where he has no control. He's using a smaller service so that everyone can afford to go to his concerts, not having to pay $400, $500 for a ticket.
Because what a lot of it boils down to is you have an artist who's willing to sell a ticket for, I don't know, let's say Zach Bryan sells a ticket for $50. But then on top of that, there's a whole bunch of undisclosed fees and I almost want to call them fines for having used Ticketmaster, right? Sometimes they're as much as $100 extra just because you're using the service of Ticketmaster. And like I said, it's a monopoly, so you can't go anywhere else to get tickets for this event. And if you do, it's a secondary market where those tickets are being upsold. And it's a disaster. The ticketing world is a disaster at the moment. So really cool to see an artist, especially an up and coming artist like Zach Bryan, take such a harsh stance against, again, like I said, one of the biggest companies in America.
Yes, it was very, very like refreshing to see. And that's why I think Zach Bryan is the best Secret Santa.
Sure. I mean, yeah, he released a secret album on Christmas Eve, and that's dope.
That just clicked. I've been waiting for I had the Secret Santa thing. I was too pigeonholed in what it meant, but that's a clever workaround. All right, I'm on board now. I got you.
So my win of the week is also Secret Santa related, but also in the more traditional sense of the meaning of Secret Santa, as in you get like somebody that you purchase gifts for, and then you don't tell them that you're their Santa, and then at the end there's the whole payoff, you give them the big gift or whatever. The Baltimore Ravens running back room had a Secret Santa, and J.K. Dobbins got Justice Hill a very interesting gift, and we'll watch.
Got me right. JK. Boy got me right. What you got, bro? I want to change. Hell is this? I like this. This is supposed to be a pocket break. Where he got you? Oh, nah, y'all on different time.
So, Jack, I see your inquisitive face. That was
it the shoes, or was it the second thing?
It was the second thing. The football-shaped thing was a pocket pussy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Inside of a football.
I was too busy trying to figure out. I'm like, does Dior make shoes? That was throwing me off.
Dior, I think, probably does make shoes, but no. The Secret Santa gift was J.K. Dobbins getting Justice Hill a football-shaped pocket pussy. That was, I thought, hilarious. I mean, and for somebody to then inside the running back room video it and share it and keep it up. You typically see those snafus where, like, we've seen as Bears fans, we've seen Kyle Long's ass and cock before, like on post game videos. So to see one of those stories stay up, I think is fun. So that's why I wanted to share it. I thought it was an awesome gift for your teammate that you maybe marginally know.
Wait, so if it was Secret Santa, I guess that we find out later, because the whole point of Secret Santa is everybody's assigned someone to give a gift to, but you don't know who gave you the gift. But it seemed like everybody knew right away who gave it.
Well, so I think a typical Secret Santa, having participated in one myself recently, is that you have a couple of days of gifts and you give a gift and they don't know who it is, and you give another gift and they don't know who it is. And then on the last day, you give the big gift and you reveal who you are as the Secret Santa. But it's supposed to be like things that you know that person might like. So like when I did it this past year, I gave away like a Starbucks gift card, like one of those insulated koozies for like a beer can or whatever. And then the last day was I gave a bottle of Tito's, right? And it's like, oh, it was me all along. Here's your, Tito's or whatever. But for J.K. Dobbins, I want to know, what are the other things that he like plotted along to indicate that like, hey, I know you, and these are things I think you might like. And then for the final gift to be that.
It's the grand finale.
It's the grand finale for sure. I mean, I liked it.
That's fun.
I liked it for Justice Hill.
Mm-hmm. I see. Mine is not Santa related, I guess kind of secret related. I'm excited at the rise of mysteries in the popular media again. The big release recently was Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, followed to the Knives Out movie. It was I liked it. It was a good movie, but I am a fan of the fact that we're just getting more movies like that. And there's a lot of almost pseudo mystery type things too. Like I saw recently, Amsterdam had a lot of mystery elements, even though it wasn't traditional like whodunit murder mystery. And I heard Rian Johnson, the director of the two Knives Out movies, is also either producing or directing a whodunit murder mystery style TV show at some point to be released maybe early 2024, late 2023. So it's not a big win, but I'm excited to see the return of a kind of dated genre. So nope, no Santa related stuff.
Well, and one with, I think, a genre that has had a lot of uncreative stuff done with it in the past couple of years. Like there hasn't been, like you said, a dated one, but one that needed some new life kind of given back to it. And I think the Knives Out mysteries have done a decent job of that. And we watched it last night, and it was captivating enough that I didn't find myself on my phone a bunch. It was a bit predictable, but like it's hard to make those real earth-shattering plots in a mystery movie like that. And, I liked it. I think they did a good job with it.
I also watched it last night. Oh,
go ahead. Oh my God. Were we doing the same thing at the same time?
We're in tuned. No, I also watched it last night, and I have a lot of similar thoughts. It was very captivating. It was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, for a mystery movie, it was probably one of the best ones I've seen this year.
Certainly recently, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like it was good. I also think that they did a lot of promoting for it. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I would want to go back and rewatch, because typically when you see all that promotion, we've talked about it in our movie conversations, you see all that promotion, it's typically not a great movie, and they know it's not a great movie. So I think I want to go back and watch it, having seen the end of it, and like watch it actually, knowing what the plot is, and see if there's any like holes in it. But I mean, from last night, I really don't remember anything, even from an editing standpoint or a script standpoint, that I was like, there's a big hole here.
No, I'm actually kind of surprised now that it's resonating with me that you said you felt it was predictable, and not to get into the nuance of a new release movie. But I think one of the things that was kind of nice is you didn't have to, as a viewer, you can like pick up pieces along the way and be like, I wonder what that means. But there's no way that you can actually figure it out, because there's a lot of just withheld information, which I think like if your goal is to watch a mystery movie and be like, oh, I'm going to like solve it before they reveal it and like catch all of the things, like that's probably not going to happen, first of all. And second of all, that I don't think is a part of the modern mystery as much. Like they have to make it almost unsolvable, guessable, and educated guessable, but you can't actually like get it. And so they have to keep the story moving.
I suppose what I mean by predictable is like, point A and point B, I could come to the conclusion of what the end of the movie was going to look like early on, but then obviously the twists and turns in the middle, like I wouldn't have been able to guess what some of those things were, and I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. But like the end of the movie, I could have definitely told you what was going to happen, but way we got there, I suppose, was not as predictable.
Yeah, which is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
So murder mysteries, let's get them back.
Let's do it. And let's also move on to intercepted at the goal line, where this is a worst of the week, right? We go from best to worst. And again, it's something from our personal lives. It's something from sports. It's something from pop culture. Whatever you bring to the table, you bring to the table. And today, gentlemen, I bring forth a missed opportunity by Nickelodeon to really ingrain itself in not only the child demographic that it looks to serve, but also in the adult population that inevitably gets stuck watching it or find themselves watching it just for the sheer fact that they want to see the slime zone. At the end of every one of these games, there is supposed to be an MVP, a Nickelodeon valuable player, I think is what that would equate to. And in past years, we've seen it attributed to Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know who won it last year.
Dak
and then
Prescott.
Was it Dak Prescott? Okay. Now this year, everybody was dead set before the game even started on who was going to win that award, because it's become somewhat of a memeable award. Everybody wanted to vote Russell Wilson the MVP this year. And Nickelodeon made what was probably a very intelligent choice, but also a very aggravating and frustrating choice for somebody like me who wanted to vote Russell Wilson, in that they made only winning team players available to vote for MVP. So who ends up winning it but Baker Mayfield, which is probably not an awful person to win it in terms of like the memeable nature of the award, but it certainly would have been better had Russell Wilson been holding up that stupid blimp trophy.
I don't know. Like, if you already are planning on taking the meaning of the award away, it's not great. So I would say
adding meaning to the award.
You're not adding meaning to the award. You're pumping yourself up with a bunch of nothing. What they really should do is allow everyone to vote for whoever they want. Just have one of those little, like, all you got to do is like sign up with an email and you can cast your vote. And then anybody who cast a stupid vote, in this case, people who voted for Russell Wilson, was therefore ineligible to ever vote for future MVPs. You know, treat the fact that you get a vote with respect. You want to make fun of the Pro Bowl voters. Well, that's just general populace, but you want to make fun of like Baseball Hall of Fame voters, or like who's getting AP first team, right? We're critical of those people. Hold yourself with some regard. You get a vote. Treat it with respect.
See, I would have loved to see Russell Wilson get it, because especially after what happened during the game, his O-line freaking out. Could you imagine how big his ego would have been getting up and getting that award and still trying to be Mr. Unlimited? Like, it would have caused so much turmoil in the Denver Broncos locker room, and it would have been pretty much just reality TV for a week.
Not even turmoil. That's not even really what I was looking for. What I wanted was the moment of Russell Wilson being interviewed with a microphone in front of his face. If you've noticed in the past few weeks, like, yes, he does his regular media availability, but what he does outside of that is very limited. The Broncos, and I think Russell Wilson's camp, are very clearly trying to get him out of the limelight. It would have been very, very fun to see him thrust back into it, even if it was just a little 3-minute clip with some kid who's never interviewed anybody before. It would have been fun to see what answers he gives from his Rolodex of pre-queued up answers to whatever. It would have been fun to see, and it would have been fun to see him holding that blimp trophy. And again, I would argue, Jack, that we are adding value to this award that really has no meaning. What is a Nickelodeon valuable player?
No. Go watch the fan-controlled league if you want to just be, involved in making all the decisions of the game. I think the Falcons should have won. They should have let me vote on who wins the game. It's worth nothing.
Oh, what does Nickelodeon equate to? We know what most valuable player is. Most has a meaning. What does Nickelodeon mean?
I mean, this is the same as like getting the turkey leg on Thanksgiving, right? Like, a turkey leg inherently is not just. What do you mean? No, it's just some random fabricated thing to commemorate a specific occasion that they give to the player who they feel is most deserving of it.
I think that if you take a step back and you look at it from like a child's point of view, maybe they thought Russ had the most sportsmanship throughout the game. Obviously, he's on the sideline chirping his teammates, trying to get them going during the game. So why can't they vote for him? I think it should be a sportsmanship award.
Yeah, sportsmanship.
You guys are literally lying to yourselves right now, and I will no longer be putting anything to a vote in this community. You guys are not trustworthy. I'm gonna alert the election judges come next November. This could be a big problem here.
See, I Google, what does Nickelodeon mean?
It's a television, right?
A jukebox, originally one operated by the insertion of a nickel coin. A movie theater with an admission fee of $1. So,
movie theater. There you go. So, what did you
better theater? What is better theater than Russell Wilson over the past calendar year?
I mean, Baker Mayfield's got a pretty good story on him too. So
he already was on the silver screen. He had his time in the limelight.
I think if you guys believe what you're saying, you would have a real argument or two. And I think
I just gave you a real argument. I gave you two of them.
No. One of them
was
the
value,
definition of an outdated term.
And the definition is literally some sort of viewing device.
That actually, though, you do raise an interesting point there for another conversation, which is the constant parsing of what actually does MVP mean, right? We go through this all the time on what's the most value, how do you assign value to an individual, that sort of thing. So I appreciate it for that regard, but you're really tearing down the institutions with your nonsense.
I don't know what institution was built with Nickelodeon, but apparently you were willing to die on that hill, sir. And
I will.
With such boisterous nature, I will allow you to go next here at Intercepted to the Goal Line.
Okay, well, mine is also related to the last week of the NFL and overall many weeks of NFL seasons year over year. I'm sick of the short afternoon slates. I think that it was very egregious this past week between the having 3 games on the other day of the weekend and the Christmas games. However they set up the schedule, we only got 2 games in the afternoon slate, and that was Commanders 49ers and Eagles Cowboys, which both happened to be high enough scoring, close enough, relevant teams that it's worth watching. But we have had some real duds over the course of the season where there's only 2 or 3 games in that second window on Sunday, and I can't stand it. Why do we have 8 or 9 games on what us central time zoners might refer to as the noon games? Why do we have 8 or 9 of those and then like 2 or 3? I know that a lot of it is based in the regionality, what time zones they're playing, but I think it's time that let's have more central teams play in the afternoon. It doesn't really mess anybody's day up. If I told you, hey guys, we should go see the Bears game, it's at Soldier Field at 3:00. Would you be like, oh dude, that's so late in the day?
I can't do that.
So why are we doing with this 9-2, 8-3 split? I feel like a 6-4, a 5-5 would be much more interesting and keep everybody enwrapped for a full 5.5 hours.
And even especially when you're talking about the value of red zone, the value of the product that the NFL is producing, right? Like with NFL Plus or with Sunday Ticket, any of that stuff, like the value of it, I think, is increased when your windows are a little bit more weighed. The viewership is maybe even upped a bit because you're able to say, okay, you might not like the 2 games that we had in the original window. But now that we've added 2 more games, there might be one that has piqued your interest, and now you're willing to stick around through whatever. There aren't many, I think, football fans out there that sit through every single window, every single Sunday. I do. That's just me, though, because, football. But no, I think if they were to even things out, it would make things better, more valuable for them from a viewing standpoint.
Do you ever think that maybe they just kind of took it into consideration about the holidays just because, this is a busy time of year for people? Maybe, 5 hours of continuous football is great any other Sunday or any other weekend, but like
7 hours.
Christmas. Yeah, 7 hours, whatever.
Of commercial-free football.
but
like,
yeah, you're right.
Considering holidays.
I would definitely get on board with, if we've had Christmas Day games, regardless of when Christmas is, if it's a Wednesday or a Thursday, they'll normally put a game on Christmas as of the last few years pretty consistently. And I get altering it for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, whatever holidays fall on the calendar that mess things up, except for the scheduling is also not very good on the regular weeks, right? So if it was the holidays are going to be different, but this is the plan, I would be fine. It just, to me, was highlighted by the fact that I was in a holiday season where I had time to watch football. And I'm like, oh man, 2 games. That's all I get. And like Niners Commanders got a little out of hand quickly. So I was watching Red Zone and I switched to Eagles Cowboys. And my dad's like, you don't want to watch Red Zone? I'm like, it's 2 games versus 1. That's not that big of a deal.
No, and it didn't help. Like I fell asleep during the noon slate and then woke up for the late slate.
Oh no.
So I was both of these games. Oh my God. And then I had to, I was at dinner with my dad for the Eagles game. I had the second half of the Eagles game. So like, I really didn't even get to watch like the best game of the day. It was whatever. Anyways, Tyler, I think you have intercepted at the goal line, and then we've got NFL Week 15 talk that we can jump into.
Yeah, so taking a little bit of a different path here. This is more something that happened in my personal life. I nearly got squished benching the other day.
Oh, no.
Now, for all the viewers out there, I'm a pretty good bencher. I had
kinda. I mean, you bench all right.
All right. I had a considerable amount of weight on the bar.
Tell everybody what the weight was. Don't be shy.
So I had 510 on the bar and going for a new PR, which is a big deal for any person.
For everybody out there, that's 2 of me and about 5 of Jack.
Well, so the way the gym works is there's one spotter. It's the gym owner, Rudy. He comes, he'll lift up the bar, you do your rep and you rack it. Now, given that it was so heavy, I needed 2 side spotters just in case Rudy, who's 68 years old, couldn't pull the bar up, which he probably couldn't. So I get ready. I go through my whole routine before doing this. I chalk my hands, wrap my wraps, lay down, get set. And I go for my lift off. I give him the 3-2-1 and something's off about this lift off. One of the side spotters picked up his side of the bar and shoved it to the left. So I actually had a video of it. I deleted it. But if you watch the video, you can see me actually pick up my right leg, all my weight on my left leg, rebalance myself, and then try to do it. And I missed it because I wasted so much energy.
Right. How old was your side spotter?
He's in his 20s. He's college age, maybe beyond college age.
For extra context too, for people who are unfamiliar with Rudy's gym, this is an invite only gym.
Yes. And the thing is, it's a powerlifting gym. This guy himself
know how to spot.
He was a power lifter. He competed in actual meets. He's been in there every day since he graduated high school.
Man.
So I don't understand the disconnect there. And it almost caused me to get hurt.
Wait, so when you're saying this guy lifts it and pushes it, does that just mean that like the weights were like sliding towards you? I know nothing about weightlifting, so the visuals are confusing to me.
So the weight on the bar, it's clipped. So it's flush. It doesn't move.
Okay.
He has the end of the bar sticking out of the rest of the weights.
Right.
So he has his hands cupped and he decided to pick it up on his own. The other side spotter did not do this. So
the problem was it wasn't synchronized.
Yes. So I'm off kilter already. The other side spotter, I didn't want the side spotters touching my bar unless I failed. So he did it on his own. He picked it up. So I'm off balance like this. Then he pushes. So then I'm like this.
Oh my God.
So I'm balancing on one leg, trying to bring it back. And it's a very scary position. I mean, for me, like I can handle a lot of weight. Like if it was a lot less, if it was 400 pounds, I could have handled it easy, but it was 500 pounds and that's a lot of weight for me. So it was a lot. It was really dangerous. And I was very angry. I absolutely raged on this kid. But man, I was just so blown away by, he's been in this gym for, I don't know, 10 years and you don't know how to spot.
That's frustrating.
So question 2 that I've got, and maybe this is educational for other people as well. How does this old guy lift a 500-pound thing? How does he lift it up for you to lift it?
Well, that's a great question. But like when you go to spot somebody, very rarely do you pick it up for the person. It's more just like a lift off. So like if I'm picking up 500 out of the rack and then also coming up over the little latch and then bringing it down, like that's a lot of energy wasted. So when you get to that point, you want to get to like here with as little energy wasted as possible. You want to get that bar over your chest with as little energy wasted as possible.
So does he have to be able to also lift 500 pounds, or you're saying he kind of just helps to steady it and like half support?
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. You know, okay. he kind of guides it over you, and then you have enough strength to get it up there. You just need the little tug.
Gotcha. But he just needs to know what the hell he's doing.
That makes sense too, because I'm like, if this guy can lift to 500 pounds, I felt like he could have been more useful too if he's just able to do that so easy.
And as a side spotter, you shouldn't touch the bar unless it needs to be touched.
Okay,
you're literally just there as a oh shit.
I vaguely remember that from high school gym class.
Yeah, so that's crazy. And that Tyler, the fact that you were able to regain yourself, regain your balance, and still have that like PR weight above you is nuts.
It was very disappointing because I was locked in. I was gonna crush it.
And you guys keep talking about gym stuff for just a second. Ask away about all your questions, Jack.
Good. Okay. So how do you know when you're ready to go to the next level? Because I would think if, my best is this, like, do you just, well, I guess, okay, let me rephrase it. Let's say 5'10" is your personal record, right? And you're like, you know what? I think I can do 540. Do you have to take like different measures with the people helping you if it's something that you don't know that you can do? How does that change things?
I would say a lot of it, trusting the people in charge of the gym, right? I have a great relationship with Rudy, and it's gone back since I was in high school. So, I kind of bounce things off of him. If it looked too easy, I kind of look to him and he's like, yeah, put on this weight, and he kind of knows the right amount to bump you up. But as far as spotters, it's just kind of like, make sure someone's there. Obviously at a certain point, like I am certainly not a 600-pound bencher, but there's people who do. Mm-hmm. Those guys like, 2 side spotters to get it up, because it's just a lot of weight for one person on one side to try to help.
Is that only when you're going for these, right? Like if you were doing 400, would you still need the 2 guys on the side?
Oh no.
Yeah, he can rep that. He can probably go for reps on that.
So the extra people really is more of a rare situation. You don't always need that.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely just like a safety precaution.
Yeah.
Like,
or the opposite sometimes.
Right. Well,
a danger.
I bench probably half the amount that Tyler does on a max, and I've never used a side spotter. Okay. So it really is like when you get to like the big weights, like that would be the time that you bring in those side spotters. And I will say, being that this is kind of a close to the new year episode, we'll do more like the year in review stuff on episode 16, but being that this is a close to the new year type thing, maybe there's somebody out there, their New Year's resolution is to go to the gym, lose weight, get strong, whatever, just do it. Honestly, that's like my biggest advice is just go do it. It's going to seem scary. It's going to seem like everybody's looking at you, but literally just go do it. That's the only way to start. And it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel stupid. You're going to feel like quitting. But if you're serious about it, just keep going. YouTube videos, ask questions to like the big, strong looking dude in the gym. He probably wants to tell you every piece of advice that he has. Go up to him and ask him when he's not in the middle of a set. Go up to him and ask him what his advice is to get big and get strong. And that's kind of like my little soapbox. Jack, you look huge.
How much do you guys think I could bench press? I guess, Tyler, you've never seen me in person, but I feel like you get the picture. My understanding of the process has to at least illuminate a little bit. I think if you got
Tyler and I in the same gym with you, I legitimately think we could probably get
60.
No, because the bar itself is 45. You can lift
45.
No, I think, Tyler, I think we could get him to 120.
I think you could do a plate.
Plate's 135.
Yeah,
no,
I think you could do 135.
No, you would be astonished.
You were over exaggerating because it's like you're just thinking about strength in general, but it's two hands and you're also using your legs, which is like a big part of the bench that no one really seems to pay attention to.
Because people think it's cheating. It's stupid. Man, I could talk about the big 3 lifts all day long. Those are my favorite. But like, you talk about it's like a dynamic movement, Jack. So like when you think about dynamic, you think about multiple things being used at the same time in this context. And so it's not only are you just using your chest, but like your back is locked in, your shoulders are locked in, you're using your arms and your triceps. But when it gets tough and you get buried under the weight, then you're shooting your hips and using your legs and driving through to get that up. And there's much more involved in it. And people just think that it's literally just this movement here. It's not. There's a lot more that goes into it. If you got me and Tyler in the gym, and maybe if we ever get together in the same like city, maybe there should be a piece of content that we make for Hangin Banners is let's get Jack to bench a plate.
That'd be awesome.
I do like that you guys are like, no, you're underselling it. It's actually your whole body. I'm like, no, I was already factoring that in. Like, I understand the kinesiology of it. That, trust me, if it was just arms and chest, I'm putting myself on for like 20.
I think it'd be fun if you've ever been on TikTok and you see like the fitness couples who do the we've done way too much time on gym talk today, but if you've ever seen the fitness couples on TikTok who are like, I'm going to shoulder press until I can't, and then my boyfriend picks it up and keeps going. I think it'd be fun to like Jack bench presses until he can't bench press, and then I pick it up and I bench press until I can't bench, and then Tyler picks it up and Tyler bench presses until he gets to, I don't know, fucking 500 pounds or some crazy shit.
We need insurance waivers. I'd be a major injury risk.
You're on my insurance. I claim you as a dependent.
I got a last thing on the gym stuff. I remember being in a physical therapy thing. I had a back injury a few years ago.
Which is not the same thing.
No. But I remember just on the like, are you sure? Like, I feel like you're underestimating yourself. And it was like, just, okay, let's see what you can do. Like, try and touch your toes. And I reached down and I got to probably about the top of my shins. And they're like, a physical therapist is going to play it cool as much as they can. And there was sort of this nervous, like, you sure you can't go further? And then they're like, oh, that might be kind of bad. And I'm like, they're terrified that I like destroyed my back. And I'm like, no, that is actually my normal amount of reach. Like senior year of high school, I couldn't touch the sit and reach thing. I'm like, this is not the injury. This feels fine. They're like, okay. I'm like, it's not good to scare a doctor and you're comfortable. So I feel like that would be the thing with you guys. Like, are you sure that you can do this? I'm like, trust me, I know my limits on this one.
See, that was always my strong point. I've always been a flexible lad, I guess. I don't fucking know. Let's move on. Let's talk a little football. Yeah, NFL Week 16 is upon us. And I got to be honest, I slept, like I said, through football on Saturday, and Sunday was a blur. And I really don't have any points from watching football this week, other than it was cool to see the word no beat Deshaun Watson.
All right. Well, is that where we're starting then?
That's great.
So what I thought that we would do this week instead of talking 1 point rundown is talk about the playoff picture, because as it stands, we have 2 weeks ahead of us, which is going to decide all of the remaining playoff spots as it stands. Right now, the AFC is definitely a lot more locked up than the NFC is. So we can start there, and that might be a little bit easier conversation to just kind of ease our way in. But looking at it right now, the Bills are locked in, and they are AFC East champions, and so are the Chiefs, but in the AFC West. They're locked in as champs. The Bengals still have an opportunity to fall out of the AFC North lead, with Baltimore looming close. And the Chargers are also in the playoffs, along with the Bengals and aforementioned Baltimore Ravens as well. So the big question mark comes up in the AFC South, where Jacksonville is currently leading, but close in pursuit is Tennessee, and they have some real big games coming up. I think the biggest piece of news right now, as we talk about this right before we started recording, is that Tennessee plays on Thursday night, and they have literally everybody out.
Yeah.
And so this could be a sneak in the back door type playoff appearance for Jacksonville, because I would assume between Tennessee and Jacksonville, only one of them is making it, as there's only one wild card spot left. And you've got teams like Miami, New England, and the Jets ahead of Tennessee in the standings for that last wild card spot.
Yeah, so there's still a path for there to be a second AFC South team because of the way that the records stack up. I'm pretty sure there's still a path where Tennessee or Jacksonville could get it, but it does seem pretty unlikely. And I guess Jacksonville sneaking in is the right way to say it, because the AFC South has been really bad. I think people
Jacksonville has been bad at times this year, but they've been great in the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think we've lost sight of it with all the NFC South talk and the national media of how mediocre as an entire division that is, that we didn't realize, wow, Houston has been eliminated for weeks and that division is still wildly unsettled with losing records. So I think the viewers would like to see Jacksonville. People want to see the Trevor Lawrence kind of blossoming effect. And not having a lot of your defensive starters in this game against Dallas probably is a loss for Tennessee. And then it could very well be winner gets the division in Week 18 when Tennessee and Jacksonville play again.
Which could be an incredible game to watch. Let me just rerun through some things here. Derrick Henry is listed as doubtful. Again, they're playing on Thursday night against the Cowboys, which is going to be a tough game. Dallas is, I think, still in the mix for the NFC East. So they're fighting for an opportunity to break through and possibly, with some help from the Vikings, even look at the number 1 seed in the NFC and get that first round bye. So they're going to be playing a very ferocious Dallas Cowboys team coming up. But the Titans will be without Tannehill, Jeffrey Simmons, Petit Friere, their tackle, Amani Hooker, Bud Dupree, Zach Cunningham, Dylan Cole, Josh Thompson. Some of those are more role-filling guys, but of course their starting quarterback is out. Their star defensive lineman is out, and Derrick Henry is listed as doubtful for tomorrow's game. This could be a nightmare for Tennessee.
I mean, it's kind of the tale that's been happening all season for them, right? Like, it hasn't been like, oh, wow, I'm so impressed with this Tennessee team this year. Like, it's just been like a series of unfortunate events for them where it's just, you came into the season not really knowing how they were going to do. And now you're still in the same space. You're like, yeah, I guess they could be a playoff team, maybe, if you like tilt your head and squint a little bit.
I mean, they were the 1 seed last year, right? They were the number 1 seed, 13-3, and then they start the year 7-3. I think that's also kind of been lost in it is, oh yeah, the Titans, nobody was ever super impressed with them, so we didn't pay too close of attention to their record. They've lost 5 in a row. Yeah, including to Houston at home last week,
which was huge, especially for all my Bear fans out there. We are big Texan fans right now. Texans lose a game, Bears lose out. Bears get the number 1 pick, so go Texans. Been pulling for them recently.
I'd say go Texans this week because I want to see as many hyper meaningful games as possible. And if Houston beats Jacksonville this week, I'm assuming Dallas beats Tennessee tomorrow. Then we do have a Week 18 championship game, which even though it's 2 teams I don't care about and hope get eliminated right out of the gate in the playoffs, I do want to see, the AFC South champion go like college style.
I mean, desperation is a great motivator, and it certainly makes for great football. So I would be down for a championship game in Week 18. But yeah, you mentioned the 5 losses in a row for Tennessee: Cincinnati, Philly, Jacksonville, the Chargers, and Houston. And they have, like you said, the Cowboys and Jaguars coming up. So should be interesting for Tennessee. And I really do think that it's one or the other getting in, and it's by way of AFC South championship, because now you look at the remaining teams in the wild card spot. As I mentioned, the AFC East has been good this year. They've got Miami, New England, and the Jets all knocking on the door of that final wild card spot in the AFC playoffs picture. What do we see as the probable outcomes here?
Jack, you go ahead and start.
Yeah, so I think with Miami being 8-7, the Jets and Patriots both being 7-8, the biggest game, of course, is going to be this week when the Dolphins play the Patriots in Foxborough. And right now, the Patriots are essentially just home point favorites. They're 3-point favorites, but that could just be weather and playing at Gillette. If Miami wins that game and the Jets lose to Seattle, which is another probably very close game, then the Dolphins are in. So that's the clearest path because they could lock it up this week. As long as they win one of their 2 remaining games, because they play the Jets in the Week 18 finale, they're in. And even with Tua back in the concussion protocol, and there are question marks around his ability to play this week, I don't know that you would make the Patriots or Jets giant favorites against a Teddy Bridgewater Dolphins. So if you're telling me the Dolphins need to win one of 2, that's where I would stake my money at the moment.
It is fun to look at it, though, and see that if the Patriots beat Miami and the Jets beat the Seahawks, you've got 3 8-8 teams all vying for one final spot in the playoffs.
And in that case, I think the Patriots would have tiebreaker if they beat Buffalo in Week 18. I'm double checking that right now.
I love that we have Steve Kornacki working for us.
Pull up the old playoff machine. I'm clicking. If this guy wins, what happens next? I've already gone through so many of these too, so I'm kind of sad that I don't just know it. Yeah. If we head into Week 18 with all 3 of those teams at 8-8, Patriots win and in. If the Patriots lose to Buffalo, winner of Miami Jets is in.
Which again, we could be looking at championship type week in Week 18 in the AFC East, which is crazy, especially the Bills were supposed to be, and they are so good this year. Some of those teams pulled off some dramatic wins that are still keeping them up right now. The Jets over Buffalo, Miami over Buffalo at some point this year too. So the AFC picture is tight. Tyler, if you had to pick a team to get that final spot based off of what we heard from Jack, who do you think gets it? Who deserves it the most? Because those are 2 separate questions.
I think who deserves it the most. I think Miami has been the most impressive this year. I think Tua kind of had coming out of the shadow of, all this hate towards him. He is unfortunately in concussion protocol, and I hope he stays there because he's certainly going to need some help. 3 concussions in a season is no joke. You're talking about guys who have gotten 3 concussions in a year and have had to stop playing football. So it is a very scary time for him. But I would love to see them in that aspect, make it to the playoffs, make a little bit of a run. I think they just play a fun brand of football. Who I want to see in there, though, I think it would be such chaos to see the New York Jets, Mike White leading them in the playoffs. I think that would be just electric.
I think you're right. I think both of those are the correct answer. I think Miami probably deserves it the most of any of the teams that are still in contention. By the way, Pittsburgh and Las Vegas still technically lurking, I think is the new word that we're using. In the hunt is out, lurking is in. So Pittsburgh and Vegas are still lurking, but they have a lot that need to happen in order for them to find a way into the playoffs. But I think you're right. Miami deserves it most. And the Jets would be the chaos team. The Jets would be the team that I would probably like to see the most too. I think that they can beat anybody on a bad day, right? Like the Bills, they've beaten, and that was with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Like anything's possible with that team. They are very talented. And I would like to see them in there too.
I think you mentioned the Pittsburgh scenario, and that's kind of a winding one, requires a lot of matchups to fall into place. Mm-hmm. I would like to see that happen because I think they've played the best football lately, and I think it's a cool coming out for Kenny Pickett. When you look at the AFC East teams, the Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets are a combined 1-11 in each of their last 4 games, respectively. The Patriots getting the only win of the group. And the Steelers have won 4 of their last 5, with their only loss being a 2-point loss to the Ravens. So I don't know that I'm the biggest believer in momentum being a super important thing heading into the playoffs, But if it is a factor to be believed, I think you give the Steelers more of a fighting chance if they end up in a situation where they're playing Kansas City in that first round of the playoffs, or if they're playing Buffalo, than these teams that have kind of started hot and then sputtered their way into a 7 seed.
AFC is going to be fun. Only one spot left there. In the NFC, there are 3 spots open. One of them is a division championship still on the line. Similar to the AFC, this is one of the worst divisions in football. The NFC South is still up for grabs, but already locked up are the NFC West with the 49ers taking that. The North has been taken by Minnesota this year. And now in the East, we still have the Eagles leading, and they are in the playoffs. But with Dallas's win over Philly on Christmas Day, it changes the landscape completely, where Dallas is now in with a wild card spot. But should things break and fall the right way, Dallas can still take the NFC East over the Eagles and maybe even claim the NFC East as well. We love dogs on the podcast. Tyler, don't mute yourself, please. We'll take dogs. We'll take whirling instruments as well from the contractors working on the trailer that I'm living in as well. But that's the playoff picture right now. If we were to start the playoffs today, the Giants and Washington would both get into the playoffs, but right behind them are Seattle, Detroit, Green Bay, Carolina, and New Orleans. All of those teams just listed still vying for 2 wild card spots.
Yeah, so Carolina and New Orleans are, I believe, because they face each other, I don't know that they're actually in it for the wild card. I think they're not eliminated yet because the NFC South title is up for grabs.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I think because do the Giants still have another game in division? Well, everybody still has another game in division. So the wild card spots, the Giants are probably going to get one. I think they are in a win one of your 2 remaining games and you're good. This week they're winning in. If they lose this week, then next week winning in. Washington could clinch this week. They need a lot of things to happen. They need to win, and then Seattle, Detroit, Green Bay all lose. Those are the other 3 teams vying for it. And Detroit and Green Bay play each other in Week 18. So it's possible that game has no meaning by the time we get there, or
right,
that could determine a wild card spot. But man, the NFC East, I feel like they have just been ragged on for years that there's not really a great team, or they're supposed to be a good team, and then they end up being just okay, and they're playoff disappointments. I guess you look at the last decade, and they've had 1 Super Bowl. The Eagles made 1 Super Bowl, and I think that's it from that division. Right? Are we agreeing?
Yes.
Yeah, Giants.
In terms of Super Bowl appearances, yeah. Yep.
So to have all 4 of those teams make it is kind of crazy. But I would like to see some discussion on the value of the tie, because you do want to win more than you want to tie. You want to tie more than you want to lose. And right now, the Giants and Washington both have clinching scenarios because they tied with each other. And that, depending on how you want to look at it, glass half full, glass half empty, is a difference between them and all the teams that are outside looking in. So I would kind of be excited to see 2 teams that tied make it in and everyone else missed.
And because they tied with one another, right? Like that would be like the reason they got in, is because they have half a win more than some other team. I think that would be incredibly compelling.
Especially after last year with the Chargers-Raiders debacle in the last week where, you guys could both tie and you both make it. And then it's this awkward game of chicken and who's got more confidence at head coach. If the Giants beat Washington, Washington is right in the mix with everybody else and nobody could clinch this week. But, I don't know if it's a testament to the Washington coaching staff or the players that fought through overtime and saved a tie. It's weird how you frame it, and I'm sure the players would have different perspective than me, but looking at the numbers, I think it's a lot of fun.
Tyler?
I think Carson Wentz is in the lineup for the Redskins. There's
$1 in the jar.
Yeah, I am so sorry for that disgrace that came out of my mouth.
You actually have to shave your head now.
The Commanders are starting Carson Wentz this week.
So many acceptable names.
I just don't think that's going to happen this week. So I think it's very viable, the situation you're describing.
So, okay, I'm going to do the cheapo kind of like picking the brain of an actual professional football player. Where do you stand on the value of the tie, Tyler?
I mean,
are you like there shouldn't be ties in football kind of guy, or is it a strategic thing?
I don't think there should be ties. I think it should be settled in an overtime. Like overtime should be finite, right? Like it should just be, it gives you an answer. I was thinking about this as
you an answer now, right? Like,
right. I mean, I guess it gives you like that half point.
So would you want an untimed overtime, do you think?
I kind of like the shootout version in college, just by that point in the game, like doing a long drive, like it's just like, let's just finish this thing up. Like it's been a minute.
I could tell you what I think they should do.
Is it like what Big Cat thinks? Because I don't know.
What does he think?
So that's what I was thinking about when Jack was talking. Big Cat says that if two teams tie, it should just count as like, okay, it's a tie, but you have to play each other at the end of the year for the tie.
Oh, that's
kind of interesting.
I've never heard that.
Well, that's kind of interesting, but I also think like in the spirit of the World Cup and having listened to soccer fans complain about how like, man, like a soccer game should never go to a shootout because it's a different game altogether. I would like to see the sport of football take after its actual namesake and turn it into like a field goal competition. And so like you have to make it from like 20 yards and 20 yards. And especially with how like all over the place kickers have been the past 2 or 3 years, I think that it would make incredible drama at the end of a game. Like 20 yards, everybody makes it. Okay, cool. 30 yards. Okay, cool. 35 yards, 40 yards.
That's suspenseful.
Yeah, I think that it would be incredible drama. And if both kickers miss, you still move it back and they have to go at it again until nobody can make it anymore. The value of kickers would go through the roof.
I think taking it a step further and making it like a game of pig, like you flip in overtime to see who kicks first, and then they kind of set up wherever. So if
you have to mic up the kicker and he's like off the heezy, and then he kicks it
off the left crossbar through, and I think that would be electric. I actually really like that idea.
Tyler, I'll take you a step further, and I think it should be a game of pig, but not just kicking. I think you should get to have your whole 53-man roster is viable for play. So maybe you go for a kick. Maybe it's like, all right, pick a defensive lineman to convert this kick. Or maybe it's like a trick shot quarterback to receiver pass. Like just
the band
go for
is on the field.
Pure, like this is now just an athletics competition, right?
He's just grabs the mic. Yeah, get the band down here. We need the band down here.
No, but in all seriousness, I do think actually that is one of the kind of saving graces of college football for me is I do like their overtime model. And even though it does change the game, I think you could even still, you probably want to just go into that right away. You could still have a 10-minute overtime that is just an extension of the game like they have now. And then this be the, like NHL has an overtime and then a shootout. Right. But I don't mind the start at the 20, start at the 25 and, first and 10. They could even try and shorten it there for safety is like you get 4 downs from the 25, no first down. So however they want to twist it. Right.
That's true.
I think there's a lot of ways to go about it. I don't like the current NFL overtime in that it ends after 10 minutes. I don't care about the stupid, everybody likes to complain about the coin flip and one offense might not get the ball. That's fine. That also can happen in regular football too. So I don't mind that so much, but there's gotta be a better way to end overtime. I'm also on a, don't really need ties except for it's causing a lot of fun in the NFC East right now.
So to pull this back to the original point of the NFL playoffs, and now specifically the NFC playoffs, we got 2 wildcard spots left. The control is completely in the hands of both the Giants and the Commanders. They win, they're in, right? They keep winning, they're in. They control their playoff destinies. But given the fact that Seattle, Detroit, and Green Bay all have to win out, and both Green Bay and Detroit will have to play Minnesota in the final 2 weeks, it makes me believe that Seattle is really the only team left with a real good shot at usurping one of the Giants or Washington.
You really think that?
Yeah, I'm kind of processing that too. Let's hear the thoughts there, Ryan.
Well, I just think that Washington probably has the biggest letdown, right? Like they have the ability to screw things up for them more than the Giants. I think the Giants probably get in. I think that the Giants are probably fine and end up getting that second wild card spot.
They should get in this week. They play the Colts. If they beat the Colts at home, they're in.
Exactly. But Washington now putting Wentz back under center in a pivotal part of the season, I think could play big. Like it could just play a big part of this next game for them against Cleveland. I'm not sure who they play in week 18, but Jack's on that.
So that's I would say the best case for Washington, besides the fact that they have a half game lead over the other three teams. The thing they most have going for them is that they play Dallas in week 18. And unless New Orleans can beat Philadelphia this week, Dallas will have nothing to play for in week 18. Because if the Eagles win, they have now secured the division. So Dallas is going to be locked into the 5 spot. If the Saints can beat the Eagles, that also shakes up the NFC South odds and stuff for the 4 seed. But that's the best case for Washington, right? Is you're hoping that Dallas has nothing to play for and is resting their starters for 3/4 of the game. If that isn't the case, I worry about Washington actually probably being the 4th best team of the 4. And winner of Detroit Green Bay feels like it could definitely get things done. Seattle getting the Rams in week 18. They're already starting to kind of shut guys down for the season. So I do like the Jets, Rams, both in Seattle. That feels like a very 2-0-able schedule. So I almost want to pick Seattle as the
story would be awesome, just because they have Geno Smith do what he's done. Yes, he's had a rough November into December, but like see what he did early season. To be able to get that team to the playoffs after blowing up the roster would be, I think, pretty cool. Just for the narrative, I just would honestly rather see Seattle in there over Washington. Even if Washington's been a fun team this year, anything Dan Snyder I hate. Hopefully he's not there next year and I can start to root for the football team again. But for right now, it would be fun to see the Commanders, the Commies fall out of the playoffs just to spite Dan Snyder and what will probably be his last year in ownership of that franchise.
Well, and I don't want it to be understated that we've sort of written the Giants in, but they need to beat the Colts this week, because if they do not beat the Colts, they play Philadelphia in week 18, who will likely be playing for a first round bye, the first round bye in the NFC, which does open the door for, if I had to guess, probably Detroit, because the Packers have Minnesota this week. They could lose. If Detroit can beat Chicago, then they might be in a position week 18 where I still think, based on actual game probabilities and outcomes and stuff, we very well could see Seattle at the 6 spot and Detroit at the 7, because I would anticipate they have very good chances of going 2-0. And the Giants don't have 2 gimmies, because the Colts, they're a mystery team, right? Yeah. If we get the Colts team that played against the Vikings, like, Giants probably lose. I don't think they could have done what the Vikings did, but if we get the Colts from Monday night, I think 31 other teams in the league could probably beat them.
We do need to move on because Tyler Witt's going to stand on a soapbox in a second. Teams already out. We did not mention these teams, but teams already out: Houston, Chicago, Arizona, Denver, Indianapolis, Atlanta, LA, and Cleveland. Only a few of those teams hold their first round picks, which is fun. The draft this year is going to be so much fun to cover, especially on this podcast as we all go deep in the coverage of it. But we need to talk about something very pressing, very urgent to the other big bearded man on this show. Tyler, something is grinding your gears.
It sure is. And it has to do with the transfer portal. So we're going to take a step back from NFL football and talk about college.
We should almost sponsor this. It should almost be like the grinding my gears, sponsored by the transfer portal, because it feels like every time that you are wildly upset about something, it's because of college football's transfer portal.
And this isn't necessarily about the transfer portal itself. It's more about the response that fans are having to people going into the transfer portal. And okay, so I was scrolling on Twitter a couple weeks ago, and Purdue had some
mistake.
Well, yeah, but Purdue has had some guys that have, opted out of their bowl game to go to the draft, and, guys entering the transfer portal, new staff coming in. It's not an easy thing, but there's fans that just like are tweeting at kids. Like, I hope you have just nothing but horrible things happen to you after you leave this institution. Or, you have fans like, I don't understand why you would do this. Or why would you sit out in the bowl game? Like, you're dead to us. Oh, this is so typical of your character. The people have to understand that as an athlete, like, I don't give a shit. Like, they don't care
right.
about what they have to say. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're a guy who lives in the middle of Wisconsin, who's was a graduate of Purdue in the 80s and didn't play football, but you're just a huge Purdue fan, you telling them that they're worthless to the team and that because they skipped one football game out of the 50 something in their career,
a game that doesn't count for anything.
It doesn't mean anything. It's for a trophy. Yeah, I understand. Like, in Purdue's case, like, it is the most prolific bowl game that they've had. But at the same time, like, what do you expect? Like, the three guys that left Purdue were top prospects. All three are probably going to get drafted, barring anything happening to them. Like, the logic for them to go out and play in this game, and if they get hurt, that's $1 million investment they lost. You don't get NIL money when you don't play football anymore. You don't get the $1 million contract if you don't play anymore. And there's just fans have this big disconnect with, like, people opting out of bowl games and also the transfer portal. Like, okay, people are leaving your school. I understand it's a hard thing to see, but that's just the nature of college football now. And you can't expect, like, okay, your coach left, the coach that's been there for the past 8 years left, and now you want to try something new. Okay, like, what's the big issue with that?
So
again,
let's hone in on the transfer portal thing, because I think a lot of people, the bowl game stuff has been going on for years, right? With the, like, sitting out to prep for the draft. With the transfer portal, though, I'm curious your thoughts on, I think a lot of people are attributing the woes of players leaving in the transfer portal to the new NIL structure. Like, do you think that gives any appropriate credence to people's complaints, or no?
The transfer portal and NIL, like, the NIL is a huge step for athletes. Mm-hmm. And, like, if you get so much time as an athlete, and some of us are lucky enough to play professional and carry it on and continue to have success and to, have a chance to make a lot of money playing in the NFL or whatever league you play in. But there are a majority of people who do not get that opportunity. And the most popular they ever are in college. So if you take that right away from them, it's what's the point? Like, here's an example that this was pre-NIL. This is a big thing that I always thought about. Mm-hmm. If you're a college student and you come up with this, like, fantastic idea, like Facebook, you come up with Facebook in college, you go through all the steps, you're still in college, you're allowed to run your business. If it was an athlete, they can't do that because they're an athlete. They can't run their business and make money through that. So NIL allows, like, a leveling of the playing field on that aspect. And that's what mattered to me, really, when the NIL stuff came out. Now it's being used to leverage ad opportunities, just money in general. Boosters want to pay the athletes money to stay. They should be able to have that. If you're well endowed as a college student and you go to college and your college is paid for by your parents and they're sending you a bunch of money and then you get a car from them, no one cries about it. That's essentially what college players are doing. Go ahead.
So just another kind of wanting your take on it, because I've got a lot of, my own beliefs and theory, and most of it aligns exactly with what you're saying. But as far as the name and image likeness stuff goes, which is still, we haven't really seen it fully evolve yet. We still have players who have played in both the NIL world and the pre-NIL who have athletic eligibility. In a couple of years, that won't be the case. Do you think, without naming names or anything, with the people who are still NCAA eligible, has NIL drastically changed people's reason for transfer? Because players transferred all the time before the NIL stuff was passed. And I think now everybody's concerned that anytime somebody leaves a school, it's probably because they got offered more money somewhere else, which I know that can't be true of everyone. But do you think that is like one of the higher factors now for players?
I think, from what I know, I think NIL does play a part of it now, because now people have to think about it like business. So I understand like some fans being upset like about it, but wishing ill upon a kid who was like, someone who's been there for like 3 years, like, okay, great. Like he gave 3 years to your university, whether they played or not. Like, let them have the opportunity to go be successful somewhere else. It doesn't deter what they did. When I transferred from Western Kentucky to Purdue, it was a tough transition because, you didn't have to worry about NIL. So it wasn't like I was just doing it to better myself. And I had a lot of support from people because they were like, okay, yeah, I played there for 5 years. Like, you've done pretty much everything that you can set out to do at a group of 5 school. So you go take it to that next level. But with the NIL, like, you're seeing guys like getting stuff to go away, and you're hearing about some tampering stuff. I don't know how true the tampering is, but I know like some people have come out of the portal because they've received something. The Western Kentucky quarterback, Austin Reed, he was in the transfer portal and he suddenly got out. He got a brand new red Corvette.
That's a nice reason to leave the transfer portal.
I would leave the transfer portal too for a Corvette. So I don't know. I just hate all this slander about the transfer portal. Like, let the athletes do what they want. Let them benefit from it. Like, this is the chance for them to make money. Half of them aren't going to play college or professional football, and the ones who do, great. Like, they just got a head start on what they're making. But like, there's a bunch of people out there that like they have like 2 NIL deals. Like, our NIL deal when I was at Purdue is we were partnered with a tractor company, and we got a 1 tractor ride out and a free lunch.
Oh no.
That was it.
I guess that does add up if it's for an entire college football team like that. That probably was a decent amount of money for that company.
Oh, it was just for the O-line. So it was like 10 of us.
Oh, it's just the O-line. Oh, yeah. Never mind.
That's just objectively hilarious.
Oh, it was awesome. But that's all I didn't need anything else from that.
But that's your point, right? Is like, that's what you're saying earlier, is NIL isn't always just like, we're going to give the, local car dealership gives this kid a car and like $100,000. Like, sometimes it's just, I want to do my own thing. Can I please do it? And now that's acceptable. But I definitely agree with you that the worst, maybe the worst part of it all, besides sometimes the NCAA overlords can be pretty sinister, is random Joe Schmo who like maybe isn't even an alum of the school, but lives in like the suburbs outside of an urban college and is like, how dare you do this? This is my hometown team. And it's like, this is just not your business at all, guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's the burning of a jersey. It's the swearing off a name forever. It's all that type of stuff rolled into one, really. It's childish. It's just sports, and we bicker over people's lives and their their name, image, and liveliness, or whatever the fuck the hell is that?
Likeness.
But also that. But I do have to interject here. We're running a little long. Tyler, I know you love your soapbox, and we're going to have so many more soapboxes.
I'm going to step right off.
That's a very good thing to like call out, though, is don't be annoying to people online don't be annoying to professional athletes online. Don't be annoying to college athletes online. Like all of that falls under the same umbrella. NIL does not give you permission to be like, well, college athletes deserve it.
Yeah. I have nothing more to say because I'll go on another tangent. So,
but it's important to educate people on this this kind of stuff. And thank you for taking over that segment while I was dealing with some auxiliary issues. So with that being said, we ran a little long. I had some good stuff for low hanging fruit. I think it might be best that we just skip over that today, but I will in place give everybody this because got away a little bit from NFL football and got away from maybe one of the biggest headlines of the week, a name near and dear to our hearts here at the Hangin Banners podcast. We have to pay tribute by awarding the Nate Hackett Coach of the Week award to Nate Hackett himself, who becomes one of 5 NFL head coaches to be fired before the completion of their first full season at the helm of an NFL franchise. It's also the second straight year that such an occurrence has happened. If you remember last year, Urban Meyer had the same fate with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now Nate Hackett, a part of the club as well. So that award will always and forever be named after Nate Hackett. But Nate Hackett wins the Coach of the Week award.
I got a quick question for you guys. Is it crazy that I think this was maybe the worst time to fire him? Like, I feel like they could have fired him 2 months ago and everybody would have understood. Like, it's okay to cut bait if you know it's not the guy. And the fact that they didn't wait until the end of the season makes me think that they've known for a while that he's not the guy. But then they also didn't wait for the end of the season. So did the Broncos somehow mess this up too?
Possibly, or it's a giant message. But I also think that it's hilarious that the guy that they replace him with as the interim head coach is also the guy that they hired to be the tough decisions coordinator, right? Like the clock management guy, when do you call timeouts guy? Like the guy that they hired to do that is now his replacement. It is quite literally a you versus the guy they told you not to worry about situation live and happening in front of us. Yeah, and the Broncos are the ugly girlfriend that's being fought over. I don't know how the Broncos get summed up in this analogy, but that's just that's the whole summarization of the point is it's you versus the guy she told you not to worry about.
Oh my gosh. Except you hired the guy that you were supposed to worry about.
He's just a friend, I promise.
Oh, dude, that I can't believe we missed that. Nate,
is it just a point being made by the Broncos? Like, we have 2 weeks left. What's the point? We're already out of the playoffs. We don't have a first round pick. We are completely void of talent at the quarterback position as of today. And we're just going to fire our head coach. That, Jack, like you say, you make a great point. It probably they've known for a while they are going to let go of. I think it's just literally a statement being made by the organization. Like, we didn't like this guy that much.
To whom? Who is the
all
statement
of us.
directed at?
All of us, I guess.
I'm like, where's the message going? I think this, I don't know that there was any meaning behind this besides, oh shoot, like going back and looking at your to-do list from Halloween. And it's like, oh, wait a second. I forgot to cross this one off. Better get to it now. Like, wait 2 weeks. It wouldn't change anything. There's no way that I cannot believe that they're seriously considering this interim head coach for the job, right? Like, he was not even in football for a few years. He previously was a special teams coordinator, I think, before being out of the NFL. Now he's just their, like, clock management, whatever you called it, tough decisions guy.
Yeah.
So they don't want him to be head coach. So just let Hackett finish out. Hey, you know what? Since he's no longer a head coach, I'm now willing to call him Nathaniel Hackett. That's what he wants to be called. Let Nathaniel Hackett just coach these last 2 weeks. Nate Hackett was for the buffoon. He's not buffooning anything anymore.
I'm trying to figure out how much money is still owed to him over the next presumably 4 years.
Oh, he's going to have a nice vacation.
You know who's laughing really hard right now? Aaron Rodgers, who chose not to go to the Broncos when they're like, what if we hire your offensive coordinator? And he's like, nope, that won't do it. We should have known. We should have known that as a sign early on.
The signs were there. They were there indeed. Okay. So with that, we are going to have to skip low hanging fruit. So we go straight to Hang a Banner, where, at this juncture in the show, we pick a topic from sports, pop culture, or maybe even our lives, and we pay tribute to that thing. We say congratulations. We hang a banner for it. So, gentlemen, with that lackluster introduction to the segment, go ahead and lead off, Jack.
All right. Well, I'll let you guys clean up on positive notes. We did do this once before. I think we called it a fallen banner.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd actually like to take this time to tear down a banner this week. And it's not one that we ever put up, and we wouldn't have because it's a silly thing. You guys know the perpetual useless arguments that come up time and time again. And at a certain point, it's like, everybody wants to have their cool take, but there's really only so many opinions. Picture the hot dog is a sandwich type thing. That
It is.
How many times have you gone through this? And it really, A, doesn't matter.
Water is
and
wet.
B, you're just hearing the same thing from different people, right? Well, around the holiday season, and fortunately, this didn't happen to me in a great way, but it did happen, a couple small avenues. There are two major things that come up. One, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Don't answer because I don't care. But we were playing a game and you had to name Christmas movies. And of course, everyone had Die Hard on their list. And I'm like, we are such sheep. Like, either it is or it isn't. But the fact that it's now one of the first ones that comes to mind is absurd. Number two, we have experienced part of it, but not yet all of it. And that's, when do you put your Christmas lights up and when do you take them down? I don't care. It's your yard. It's your lights. Everybody's got different opinion. Everyone's got different things going on. But I can already tell you, January 2, January 3, you're going to look and you're going to see people going, can't believe the neighbors still have their Christmas lights up. And it's like,
the ghetto.
like, do not care. Or it's like, Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh. Can you believe that they already have their Christmas lights? It's not even Thanksgiving yet. Like, great. That joke was not funny for the first 40 years. It surely isn't that funny in year 41. So can we please stop with the stupid runaround things? Turn them into icebreaker activities at a summer camp and leave it at that.
So I will say, I will answer both of those and say that lights go on no earlier than the day after Thanksgiving, in my opinion. Decorations go up no later or no earlier than the day after Thanksgiving. Lights come down whenever it's not cold out. So, like, if you have them on your house until April, that's fine, but don't turn them on.
That's a bold take.
I also think
that's the problem. No takes in these conversations are bold.
I also will say that, like, on the radio show recently, I also agree that it is like just an overdone topic. Like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? It's just kind of like a fucking conversation to have with anybody, right? And I don't love having it, but my on-air co-host is so adamantly against it being a Christmas movie that I've just leaned into it.
It's fine to have
a couple segments on it. We've done a couple segments on it where I just kind of poke and be like, I think it's a Christmas movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everyone can have an opinion. It's when people, like, an adamant or fervent believer, like, if you dig your heels in on one of these sort of things, I'm going to tell you a secret. This guy doesn't care. But we're all trained to care because we've heard the same conversation. We've given the same answer that now you believe it more than you ever believed it before. I mean, if I had to say, I think Die Hard is a Christmas movie, but I don't care. Like, if you told me it's not, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. That's it. We're both right. We're both wrong. Don't care.
Tremendous. Love it. All right. Tear it down for Die Hard and Christmas lights, you fucking Scrooge. Tyler, go ahead.
All right. Well, mine's more lighthearted than the rant that Jack just went on.
The Grinch.
I'm hanging a banner today for Jeremy Reeves. Jeremy Reeves is on the Washington Commanders. I had to check myself there again.
You need to check yourself.
He played college football at South Alabama.
Oh.
He went undrafted in 2018 and eventually signed with the Eagles. He's been a final roster cut each of the last 4 seasons. But he finally made Washington's 53-man roster this year, and he made the Pro Bowl. And I don't know if you've seen this video going around of Ron Rivera telling him, but it just made me feel so good and so happy for him. Like this guy literally, this is the story of a lot of athletes. Like they're just chasing their dream for so long and being told no so many times. And then he finally makes the roster, and this is how it turns out. So hanging a banner for Jeremy Reeves.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool video to see. It was a pretty cool moment to witness. And you're right. I think a lot of times we get lost in the meaning of Pro Bowl election. Making it to the Pro Bowl is a really big deal that I don't think we ever pay appropriate homage to, because we see so many times like J.J. Watt's made the Pro Bowl 8 times. Like, what does it matter to him in the 8th, 9th, or whatever, however many times he's been there? What does it matter to him? But somebody like Jeremy Reeves, like, this is one of, if not the single biggest accomplishment in his professional or football career that he'll ever have. Like, it's a really cool moment to see that happen.
Also, you got to put, maybe it's just his delivery, maybe it's coincidence. Ron Rivera's got to be pretty high on the list of guys that you would love to get good news from. I feel like we've seen these sort of moments, and he nails it. This is somebody who I think understands what you're speaking to, Tyler. The athlete's struggle is like, as fans, they're all just big shot professional athletes, but it's like there is a lot of emotion and sentiment and hard work that often doesn't get spoken for the guys who you don't see on the front page. And so, that's a very cool story to highlight. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. I guess, personal connection to Ron Rivera. He's one of the most player-friendly coaches that you'll ever come across. Guys like playing for him because he was a player. UCLA, was like a all-state linebacker from high school in California, went to UCLA, played for the Bears, defensive coordinator, ascends to the heights of head coach because of who he is. My dad is actually friends with his cousin, and I've heard behind-the-scenes stories of Ron Rivera, and he is exactly who you think he is. He is the nicest guy, but very stern, and just all around like the definition of a player's coach. I think that you're right when it comes to, like, I would want to get good news from Ron Rivera because that guy is pretty awesome. Riverboat Ron. Let's wrap up this episode. I'll hang my banner for Alex Anthopoulos. Many people may not know that name, but I'm here to tell you that is the president of baseball operations for the Atlanta Braves. Why am I hanging a banner for him? Because I I'm enthralled with the way that he has built his roster over the past couple of years. I think that at times it's a bit predatory, but let me explain. So Alex Anthopoulos, again, president baseball operations for the Braves, is in charge of who do we bring in, how do we staff our roster, how do we get a world championship in Atlanta, but also he is in charge of handing out player contract extensions. I want to run through a list of the players that have been extended in the Atlanta organization and when they are with the organization until, because it is absolutely crazy. Austin Riley will be a Brave through 2033. Michael Harris Jr., who won Rookie of the Year last year, will be a Brave until 2032. Matt Olson, 2030. Sean Murphy, who was just traded to the Braves, will be in Atlanta until 2029. Same with Spencer Strider. Ronald Acuna Jr. will be there until 2028, along with Vaughn Grisham. Ozzie L. Some of these names you don't even know yet, and they are already there for a very long time because they understand the value of locking up young players before they get crazy friggin' expensive. Ozzie Albies until 2027, Kyle Wright until 2026, Max Fried until 2024. I list all of that off to just show, like, it's crazy what you can do if you just invest in your young players early on. But also I say it's kind of predatory because when you look at that, like, Ronald Acuna Jr. is getting paid $10 million a year until 2028. Ronald Acuna Jr. is a top 5 baseball player in the league currently, should be making way, 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 way more money than he is. But it's also extremely intelligent from Alex Anthopoulos. Just so smart. I love the way that they do what they do down there. But also from the player side of things, I also think this is kind of dangerous.
Yeah, because they're signing guys when they're like 19, when they're 20, when they're first hanging on. And then the extensions obviously are a slightly different conversation. But that I remember Acuna and Albies being two of the first players that really hit it big. And everyone's like, oh, they could get paid. And it's like, oh, wait, they already cashed in. Like,
well, and it's been done before. Alex Anthopoulos has not reinvented the wheel here. The White Sox have done similar things with Eloy Jimenez and Yoan Moncada, I believe, both got similar style contracts
around the same time too.
Yeah, I think Luis Robert might even be on that list of players who signed a young contract extension. But also the Cubs did it with Anthony Rizzo, buying out the remaining years of his arbitration. That's essentially what they do, is they say, okay, we're not even going to go to arbitration with you. We're not even going to worry about your team control years. We are simply just going to give you the money because we believe you're going to be that good. And we don't want to wait until 5 years from now when you're worth $25 million a year. We're going to pay you $8 million a year right now, even if you suck next season. Like, we're going to already lock ourselves into it. So that's our little baseball conversation for today. Alex Anthopoulos is crazy to watch put together an MLB roster, but they're going to be very good for a very long time in Atlanta. And so with that, we bid you adieu after an hour and a half of sports conversation and catching you up on our lives and all the good stuff. Hangin' Banners episode 15 coming to an end. Gentlemen, did we miss anything?
I think we hit it all.
Any final thoughts?
Week, figure it out.
That's right. Next week, we'll be back with episode 16. That will be our year in review episode, doing some New Year's stuff, maybe some resolutions for ourselves, possibly some franchises as well, some New Year's resolutions that we think franchises should have. We'll figure that all out next week or over the course of the next week. Either way, we're going to wrap up here. Episode 15 comes to a close. Thanks for hanging with us. We're back next week. I'm Ryan Sartori. That's Jack Coachman, and that's Tyler Witt. We'll see you guys. Peace.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for that look into sports, Brian.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll have one final look at weather. Stay tuned.